because Jay Coit went into the thing. He wants to make the team. Like
so
all this stuff.
He's even beyond not knowing that he's competing. Yeah. He's in the beyond opposite direction where he's thinking that he wants to like prove and be a part of the team.
Yep.
Yeah. Opposite of competing.
Exact opposite. And it's funny you say that too, where it's like, oh, that was checkmate, where he was like, when that came up, when he's like, hey, kill the guy, he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. He's like, in fact, you know what? I'm tired of this whole thing. I'm turning you guys in. He's like, yeah, go ahead. But what's going to happen when they pull your blood? You've been smoking weed and meth all day, or not meth, it was like PCP or whatever, all day, haven't you? And he's like looking at him, you can see the wheels turning.
He made him smoke PCP, or was it like intertwined in the pot?
Yeah, exactly right. So it was weed, so he made him smoke the weed. And then after he smoked it, he was like, dang, I didn't know you smoked PCP. He's like, you did. I haven't, but you have now. You know, like that kind. Like,
wait, did Denzel's character smoke weed as well?
No. He made him. He put a gun to his head. Yeah. He was like, hey, and the way he have you seen Training Day? The way he rationalized it was like, hey, if you refuse weed in an undercover situation, they're just going to kill you. So you got to be ready to do this kind of stuff. And he's like, oh, no. He's like, what the? He's like, I don't want you on my team. Gun to his head. I don't want you on my team. You know.
Wait, he puts a gun to his head?
Yeah. Just as a demonstration.
Oh, like what if it was like this?
Like, exactly right. If we were on the street, you'd be dead right now. Like that kind of stuff, you know? So it's kind of like he learned. It's almost like Jake felt like he was learning this big, huge, impactful lesson at that time, you know? Where he's like, yeah, you got to push it far sometimes, you know?
He broed him out.
Yeah, kind of.
Or did he browbeat him?
He browbeat him, kind of both. He actually, the whole movie is him doing one or the other. It's weird. It's a weird manipulation thing. Yeah. And finally, when he was tired of it, he was like, I'm not doing this. He was like, oh, yeah, but you've been smoking PCP all day. So you kind of gotta. And all my guys who are in on it, they're all going to say the same thing. And he's like, and he kind of has to do it. Then soon, like right after, he's like, hey, I know it's crazy. I know, but this is how it is. You know, we got to be wolves.
Wait, does he kill him? Spoiler alert. Does he kill him?
No.
Since we're talking about Training Day, I have a small request. You may or may not comply, but let's face it. When you give me the okay, all right, it sounds a lot like Denzel Washington. Let's hear it.
That's. I'm not going to do it, but that's exactly where I got it from.
No, I know that because even though I don't know that movie very well,
yeah, there was a part
if I get a little overly hostile with you, kind of one of your defensive mechanisms. Sure. Is to throw that, okay, all right, back at me.
Dave Burke, there was
Let's hear it, bro.
There was a time in Training Day, in the beginning, he meets him at the diner, right? And he's like, oh, the guy, Jake, he's trying to make small talk, you know, it's all awkward. And Alonzo, he's reading the newspaper. And he's like, not talking to him, it's real awkward. So Jake keeps trying to make small talk. He's like, hey, shut up, let me read my paper. Jake's like, oh, awkward. So he can't help himself. He has to say something again just to fight the awkwardness. And then he's like, puts down the paper. He's like, hey, tell me a story. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, bro, I read the newspaper for the stories or blah, blah, blah. He says this thing. It's like, so you got to tell me a story. So he starts telling him a story. And then in the part when he's like, oh, yeah, I'm with my training officer. She was a girl or whatever. He's like, oh, it was a girl training officer? Oh, man, and he's like, yeah. He's like, all right. So that's where it came from. I use it in a different context, but yes, that's where I got it from. Thank you, Jocko, for that.
It always makes me smile. If I can push you to the point where you throw that at me, I know I did my job for the day.
Yes, sir.
The manipulation, you got to be on the lookout for it. You got to be on the lookout because if you're not competing all the time, if you don't recognize that you're competing, that's when you're going to get caught. And you should never, ever give that kind of leverage to another human being over you.
Not to go back to Training Day too much, but
okay.
The smoking weed part, when he realized it, when he was like, hey, you've been smoking PCP all day, haven't you? And he's like, he looked at him, he's like, you've been planning this all day? And he goes, I've been planning it all week. See what I'm saying, though? That's the demonstration. Hey, you're always competing. Last week, we didn't even meet each other. I was still competing. Yeah. You weren't. And look at you now. See what I'm saying? These lessons are everywhere.
I kind of forgot that.
I'm just retracing my steps for the last 4 years and trying to make sure I know what's actually going on here.
Back to the book for the conclusion. As professionals, Marines acknowledge this condition and prepare themselves and the Marine Corps to succeed in this struggle. Adopting a campaigning mindset helps us do this effectively as it aids us in visualizing the long timelines that often span years and decades. This influences the type of education they say. I mean, it's so crazy to not think about years and decades. If you're not thinking in years and decades, you're gonna have some issues.
Yeah, none of us think in years and decades. I mean, whatever. Typically, we don't think in years and decades. Typically, I mean, we're for a handful of things, but that's it.
And those handful of things are what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's important.
This influences the type of education they seek to prepare them for the continual innovation that will be required to sustain competitive advantage and create new ones over the course of a long-term campaign. It also influences their thinking on talent management, because the most competitive organizations are the ones that get the most from their people by placing them in positions to use their strengths on a regular basis. All of this preparation leads to the type of agile force planning needed in long-term competition, resulting in a succession of force planning outcomes that achieve and then sustain competitive advantages in the military element of national power. That's the conclusion there of chapter 3. Well, almost 2 hours deep. So, good place to stop for now, because I don't even want to crack open chapter 4 yet. Too much for one night. So, we're always in competition. We should be in strategic competition. And all of this, chapter 3, we are preparing for competition. Echo Charles.
Yes.
Here comes the tee up. Here comes the softball coming your way. Let's see if you can knock it out of the park.
Anyway.
Speaking of preparing for competitions, do you have any suggestions that will help us stay prepared?
Yeah, take supplements. And here's why.
Straight to it.
Yep, here's why. So, so we'll start with the joint stuff, as we always do. This is why. So a lot of times, I'm one of these people, bro, I don't have joint problems, right? Until you do. You see what I'm saying? So that time, if we're not thinking that if we're not considering the fact that we might have these issues with joints, we're lifting weights, we're doing the jiu-jitsu, and we're not anticipating the potential for joint problems, we're not going to be competing in that way or aware of that competition.
Okay. We also need to be strategic in the way that we're thinking.
Exactly.
Because we are putting wear and tear. It might not hurt you right now, but guess what you're doing in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? You want to keep those things maintained in the Navy, in the Marine Corps that we know about. I'm sure it's this way in the Army and the Air Force as well. You're going to follow these maintenance protocols. And they're going to help when you need that element, when you need that piece of equipment, when you need that shoulder, that elbow, that knee. And look, your knee, let's face it, it could already come with a kind of genetic disadvantage. You might have knees that are skinny. They need all the help they can get.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, hey, you can get these supplements. Listen, we are doing something at Jocko Fuel to try and help out. So what we're doing is, we know that shipping is expensive. We know that people are already paying for the product, and now all of a sudden they got to pay for shipping too. And what we want to do is we want to give you a way to get that shipping cost down. Well, we got a way to get it down. We got a way to get it down a lot. We got a way to make it free. If you subscribe to any of these items, shipping is free.
Boom.
It was in January, but now it's free, period.
Straight up.
It's free, period. And if you subscribe, you save money too. You save cost. The cost goes down by 10%.
Right.
So if you want to be prepared, if you want to be competitive, and you want to help out your bank account, hey, go subscribe, and the shipping is free. And you get 10% off, which is pretty cool. So we're trying to make this stuff more available, easier to everybody. So that's what we're doing.
Yep.
Joint warfare, super krill, discipline go. Even the drinks, shipping for free. Mulk shipping for free. Strawberry, chocolate, warrior kit stuff, everything shipping for free. if you want to get it.
Interesting. Yeah, that's good. That's going to help you later.
It's going to help you. All these things are going to help you later.
Yep, in the campaign. True story. Also, other things are going to help you later.
You can also get this stuff at Wawa. Well, you can get the ready to drink. What do you drink? What do you have tonight, Dave? You went too deep, and so did I.
Yeah.
We started recording late. We both kind of like.
It was an early morning. I know that.
What flavors did we go over?
I went Afterburn Orange with a Dak Savage follow up.
I went
Chaser. Dak Savage Chaser.
I went Jocko Palmer, and then I went Sour Apple Sniper. JP. Appreciate it. That's what I went. So I went. We both went back to back. Back to back. I don't do that very often.
No, I was thinking too. Like, I don't usually start hitting this late at night, but
I know
I'm glad I did.
I have work to do when I get home too, so that's a positive thing. Yeah. You can get it. You can also get the stuff at the Vitamin Shop. So hit those up, or get the free shipping. There you go.
It's true. Also at originmain.com, that's where you can get stuff as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other cool stuff at originmain.com. All American-made stuff, by the way. We got boots, jeans, jiu-jitsu stuff.
Do you ever watch Pete? Do you ever watch the Origin USA Instagram story?
Yes.
So the other day, Pete Roberts.
Sure.
He made a story about how he was all fired up because we bought originusa.com.
Oh, okay. The domain name.
The domain name, and he was all fired up, and we spent $50,000 on that, and he's all fired up. I don't know if did you know anything about buying what's called a URL? Do you know anything about that?
Yes.
Yeah. So if it's a kind of a good word,
yeah,
they can be very, very expensive. I.e., for Origin USA, $50,000. $50,000. And he's on there and he's like, a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have even dreamt of spending $50,000 for this, but this is where we're going. We need this new URL. So we're doing it. We're executing. And I didn't have time because I saw the story. Me also bought another domain name, which will be up soon. Okay. And people, you could argue, would say this is even more a valuable name, URL. Mm-hmm. I bought Jocko.com. Jocko.com. And I almost posted this because what I was going to say, and this is the true story, I bought Jocko.com. How much do you think I paid for it? Origin USA cost $50,000. Dave, what do you think? How much do you think I paid for it?
I think it's unfair for me to answer this question.
Oh, you already know the answer?
Me too.
Oh, you have. Okay. So if you're wondering, I got Jocko.com for $1. No, awesome guy owned it, and he's a trooper. He's in the game, and he just reached out to Jamie and said, "Hey, I own Jocko." And we get all kinds of things. Like Jamie forced me to say, "Hey, what do we do? Hey, what do we do? Hey," and I see one title to an email. It says Jocko.com, and I open it up, and Jamie's like, "Hey, do you want me to do anything with this?" I'm like, he wants to sell me Jocko.com for $1. And he also came out here with his wife. We had a cool time. We hung out. But yeah, so I was going to post that Pete, the businessman, Pete, the negotiator. I was going to say, hey, my business partner, Pete, great job negotiating the price to $50,000. Meanwhile, I got Jocko.com for $1. You know what that is right there? Competition. I beat you, Pete.
Yes, sir. That's below market price, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. No, super cool. So that should be up soon, Jocko.com. And yes, I won that competition, Pete.
Cool. So Origin went from Maine to straight up USA, expanding.
It's not there yet.
Yeah.
Right now, go to Jocko Fuel.
Jocko Fuel.
Oh, I also bought Jocko Fuel.
I think I bought that one.
Did you buy that? What'd you pay for it? $9.
$11.99.
You gotta love it.
Market price.
Market price.
Actually, I don't know. I think you did buy that. Either way, yes, it's true. Always competing.
I bought that a long time ago.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah.
Check.
But yes, so yeah, Origin Maine, soon to be OriginUSA.com. This is cool. This is where you can get American-made stuff. Also, we have a store, JockoStore.com. I bought that one, by the way, back in the day. This is where you can get this one equals
Did you
freedom.
think of that name yourself?
Sure.
That's a good original.
No, I think you thought of that one.
No, actually, I know I didn't. I remember being like, "Oh, what is it?" And you like Jocko Store, and I was like, "Cool, I guess we're going with the theme." This is not a hard one to figure out.
I remember too. Yeah, you were like, "Yeah, Jocko Podcast because it's simple or whatever."